I got, at the same time, nothing to say, but also a lot to say. Let's do it.
You are Locked On Spartans, your daily podcast on the Michigan State Spartans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Today's episode of Locked On Spartans is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. New customers join today and you will get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. Just don't let that bet be on Michigan State, guys. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. Spartan friends, Spartan family. Happy Sunday evening, everyone, or Monday if you're listening to this on the podcast. Whenever you're listening to this, happy whatever. No one's happy. This is miserable. Here we go again. Second time this week. Lucky us that we get to do a show where Michigan State loses at Breslin Center as 9.5-point favorites. Because that's just what we do now. We've just committed ourselves to not even mediocrity, but just bad basketball. Before going any further, here's one thing I'm not going to do here. I'm not going to be one of the few people, and I'm not going to say that this is a majority of you out there that are doing this. I'm not going to join the vocal minority that's saying Michigan State just lost on a miracle buzzer beater at the end. No, you don't get to play that card when you score 7 points in the last 11 minutes of the game. You get to do that when you play a full 40 minutes of basketball, something that you maybe deserve to win. But when you essentially take the last 11 minutes of the game off, leaving yourself susceptible to losing on a prayer like that, no, this isn't the show where we just throw our hands up and say, oh, wacky things happen in college basketball. No, only very frustrating things happen in college basketball here in East Lansing, because you talk about an avoidable loss to have. There it is right there. Not even just at the end of the game, not even the last 11 minutes, but just at the surface of this game. Ohio State, such a bad team, they had to can their head coach a few weeks ago. Now they have a substitute teacher as head coach. They're missing their second best player of the game. You're playing at home, and yet it still wasn't enough to show up and pull off a victory. And now here you are on the bubble. We're going to talk about the tournament here at the end of the show. If any of you even care about that, I don't really know, but let's get into the mix here. Okay, and we're just going to push the players down the road because, we're going to talk about the head coach. We'll get to the players eventually, but the reason we're going to start with the coach is that we'll just do this whole song and dance and this whole charade of, oh, the players, they're just kids, they're just student athletes, and we'll just act like, there's not 4 23-year-olds on this team or one other guy that just turned 21. We'll just, for the sake of conversation, act like they're just college kids and not guys that should probably be in the workforce by now. Again, just kids. So let's focus here on the head coach, Tom Izzo. And I got to say, guys, driving away from this game with my near dear friend Dave, I've had an emotion that I haven't felt in a very long time. And the last time I felt this emotion, actually, driving away from East Lansing, was a few years ago when my dog, childhood dog, Trixie, lovely dog, Cockapoo, she was near the end, all right? And, hey, you know what? We've all had friends, family members that have had pets near the end, right? That, hey, you know what? You think that it might turn out a little differently on your end. As naive as that sounds, as whimsical as that sounds, that, yeah, sure, things always come to an end. Yes, I just saw my friend's old dog, he took the Rainbow Bridge home. It could be different here, though, right? Kind of like over at Syracuse, we just saw an old curmudgeon head coach that was way too stuck in his ways, not adapt to modern-day college basketball, and kind of go out with a whimper. Or if you want something close to home, how about the football program? Mark D'Antonio, really stuck in his ways, stuck by his guys, went out with a whimper. But you have the twinkle in your eye. Your dog is different. Your dog's going to be happy. Sure, it's going on around you. You probably know what's going to happen, but no, we'll get a few more good years and moments out of it, right? I had that home win against Illinois. It was great, right? Kind of like the same way that I thought it was cool when my dog Trixie decided to jog a little bit near the end of her life. You think for a little bit, as silly as it sounds, we've seen a pattern of alarming behavior that health is kind of not on her side right now, but hey, for one day, kind of reminds you of the old times, right? And then, you start to realize, in the end, no, that actually isn't how it's going to be here. That was just a blip. Now it's just a little fun thing that happened because now the same way I felt at the end of my near dear childhood friend or childhood dog, Trixie, went out. I feel the same way right now about Tom Izzo and this Michigan State basketball program. Guys, we've seen enough of a sample size. And no, I'm not overreacting to a game. I'm not overreacting to a week. I'm not overreacting to a season. This is a 4-year pattern that we are in the midst of. A guy that is just too stuck in his ways. A guy that just wants to teach lessons and play the seniors and not the freshmen, or not use the transfer portal when it's there for you. Going out and trying to do things his own way, and in the end, derailing what he has once built. And before I go any further, you think I'm having fun talking like this? You think I want to do this show where I'm just railing on Tom Izzo? I love Tom Izzo like a family member. Actually, if we can keep it a buck right now, I'd probably even slide him above a few family members. That's how much joy this man has brought to me in my life. But with family members, you could also get really frustrated at them. You could sense a pattern of lifestyle that is a little alarming, that is a little damaging to what is going on here. And you could face the music and have an honest dialogue about it. So while we talk about Tom Izzo, no, I'm not getting my rocks off here, finally getting to beat him down. No, this is not fun for any of us. But it's time to have an honest dialogue, okay? And before that we get even further into the mix, let's do another thing. Let's set another ground rule here. If you have the comment of, well, you should be grateful where Tom Izzo has brought you, or, hey, Tom Izzo has brought you so much joy that you don't have the right to talk like this about him. Doesn't make me feel good to say this, and it's a really mean word, so turn your volume down if you get your feelings hurt pretty easily. You are a loser if you feel like that. By definition, I don't have joy saying that. I don't want to call people losers. But by definition, if you are content with how the last week has gone, the whole season has gone, the last 4 years have gone, you are content with losing and mediocrity, by definition, I'm sorry, sweetheart, kind of a loser. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I have standards. I'm sorry that I want to root for a program that, well, used to be at the top of the nation, and now we're just watching this 19-year-old dog just going out with a whimper here. Now, let's talk about the actual game itself here. I would get it if Tom Izzo was just like a little handcuffed at this point of the season. If he's just trying to make souffle out of a mud puddle and he's got really nothing, I get it. It happens all around the country, right? Where you get in the middle of the season and you realize your roster is not it. Mike Woodson's going through the same thing down at Indiana, just for, another example. But that's not what we have here. This isn't a front court. This isn't a roster that has just glaring holes all over the place. Yes, they do have holes, but you have fixes for those holes. You saw one of them start today in Xavier Booker. You saw him play really well. I believe 7 points. He was active. Yes, did he get blown by once on the back door? Sure. I would say he made up for it, though, with 3 blocks, a 3-pointer, active on the glass. So, no, this isn't it just is what it is in the front court. No, there is a solution there, and we went away from the solution in the last 11 minutes of the game. Michigan State, in this inexcusable loss, 7 points in the last 11 minutes of the game. 2 things about that drove me up a wall. The first one, you go back and watch that game, how many times did the offensive set start with 18 seconds of nonsense? Nothing. Dribbling, doing a little 3-man weave before the action even started, and then, would you look at that? You're settling for a turnaround jump shot that has no chance of going in. Heck, your players have a hard enough time these days hitting wide open jump shots, but here we are just touching ourselves for the first 18 seconds of the shot clock, and then just pulling something out of our you-know-what, and guess what, guys? It doesn't work, and it didn't work. 7 points in the last 11 minutes. And, of course, you know where I'm going to go next here. That was the first thing that drove me up a wall. The second thing, where is Xavier Booker? Where on earth is he? We're going to get more into that here. I just need to talk to you about FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. I'm praying you people do not bet on Michigan State the rest of the season if you actually care. If you do want to make financial decisions that are smart, go to FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, and place bets against the Spartans, because they are going to pay for your kids' college. They're going to pay off your mortgage. They are going to set you on your next vacation, because You think they're winning any of these next 3 games? You're out of your mind. Get buckets with your first bet of FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That is $150 if your bet wins. Bet on all your favorite NBA teams and players with quick bets, live same-game parlays, exclusive props, so much more. And you know what? This week they had a lot of props on college teams, whether they'll make the tournament or not. Michigan State wasn't even listed in those props at FanDuel, but after their piece of work this week, you'll probably see their name on there. So go get after it at FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and shoot your shot. It's FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NBA. And before getting to the rest of this, I need a sip of water. My voice is just going to just leave my body. Thanks, guys. Yeah, let's talk about the Xavier Booker thing some more here. I don't even know what to say. The fact that you think you could go the last 11 minutes of the game on a power play, a 4-on-5 power play, because that's what it is with any big man that's not named Xavier Booker, is asinine. And as if watching it happen in real time wasn't maddening enough, it's the post-game quotes that really just twist the knife and really just make you wonder why you're even a sports fan or following this team in the first place. After the game, it was said by Tom Izzo that Xavier Booker didn't play because he wasn't good at defending screens or back cuts or whatever. Like, it's funny. Actually, it's not funny at all. I'm driving home with my buddy, and he's asking me, he's in the driver's seat, I'm in the passenger seat. He says, hey, did he say anything about like why Mady played? And then it dawned on me. When this comes up, and it comes up all the time, especially in the last month, why one player plays over Xavier Booker, and he's asked about it, it's never a reason of what Mady or whoever the other player does well. You never hear the reason of, oh, well, we did this lineup because this player does this good. It's never a compliment to whoever they actually do put in. It's always a slight to Xavier Booker for some reason. Like today, the inane, oh, he's just not good at defending the cuts or the back screens or what have. So we're just to make sure we're all clear, we're sitting the guy that had the best plus minus of any front court player by far because he's not good at one part of his game, but we will play the center that can't catch a ball, that can't play help side defense on time, that can't shoot, that can't post up, that can't really do a lot of basketball things well just because he can't defend a back screen. Okay, so we're openly just playing the worst player because the freshman just does one thing not so great, while the senior, let's just talk about him right now. This is going to be, after saying a lot of uncomfortable things so far this show, this will be the most uncomfortable thing that comes out of my mouth. I'm going to say something pretty mean, and then right after, I'm going to give it context, empathy, and sympathy, okay? Because at the front court right now, Mady is unplayable. That's the really mean thing. I do not take pleasure in saying that. Unplayable. Now, here's the context, here's the sympathy, here's the empathy. It's not Mady's fault that he's playing the last 11 minutes of the game or whatever it was, or the last stretch of the game. He's not the one setting up these lineups. He's not the one waving Xavier Booker off the court when he comes to check in. Mady's just playing when he's told to. It is the coach's job to realize he is unplayable. He gives you nothing. And don't point to the rebounds, okay? Pretty sure Xavier Booker could have gotten you those rebounds. Don't point for the transition layup. Any person that is at least 6'9" with 4 limbs could have converted that layup, okay? I am incredibly empathetic to the situation. I understand why, or how hard it could possibly be. You know what? And actually, that's not true. Maybe I don't understand. We talked about this with Robbie Hummel the other day, is that off the court, you got to feel for him, for Mady, of course. Thousands of miles from home. He's dealt with hardship in the offseason. He's dealt with the death of a grandparent just during the season, and he is thousands of miles from home. I almost don't even blame the kid for not even being mentally in tune with the game of basketball. That has got to be emotionally taxing beyond belief. Heck, I lost a grandparent not too long ago, and I am still very far from mentally correct, and I am surrounded with family. So for him to suffer a loss that great and have almost no one by his side that is family, I feel for the kid, okay? Basketball skills aside, that's one thing. Just the mentality is a completely different beast. You mix those together, you have a guy that can't play. And that is on the coaching staff to diagnose that and realize that. he does not, I'm so sorry to say it, he does not give you anything positive on the court. So why? After a great stretch, after a great starting stretch from Xavier Booker, you finally threw the guy a bone. You finally gave him starting minutes. And then you checked him back in at the end of the first half. And then, hey, he dabbled a little bit in the second half. You sat him the last 15 minutes. How? Just how is that defendable? Like it is, and I know that I'm just echoing what everyone else is saying, but it is insane to go the last stretch of the game with just 7 points. And I get it, guys. And let's transition to the players right now. I get that the players did not play that great. Hey, Matt, why aren't you going to talk about the players? Why aren't you hard on the players? Because really, it's not even a discussion. The players have to play better. End of story right there. Hey, Jaden Akins and Tyson Walker can't go a combined 6 of 24 or whatever it was. Okay, here's some hard-hitting analysis right here. Hey, Jaden Akins, try not to kill a trombone player on your first 3-point attempt of the game. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm sure they're trying to make the shots, but when you see your team out there struggling mightily, don't make it even harder for them and put a power play of just 4 players on the court. Give them a full chance to win this game and give them some strength in the front court. So that is why that we're mostly talking about the last 11 minutes of the game, the stretch. The players, I on the court, I don't even know what to say. Tyson is clearly not right. Whether it's injury, whether it's just lack of actually score, I don't know what it is. It doesn't matter. I mean, Jaden Akins, yeah, he had that fun stretch against Penn State, Illinois. He hasn't done anything since. That was a really, really rough game from him. Malik Hall, good first half. AJ Hogard, overall, fine game, but you need more than fine at this point of the season from 2 players, while your other 2 players aren't playing up to snuff. So, yeah, Trey Holloman, he's hit a sophomore wall. It's been a while since we've said he's had a good game, and, yeah, the rest of the front court, you get the story. What bothers me the most about the player aspect is what Tom Izzo saying after the game of, there's just not enough leadership on this team. Like, I'm just really, really having a hard time with finding a leader on this team. Or that is so just pathetic. I mean, and it's true. I'm not saying Izzo's wrong there. Like, there very clearly is a leadership issue on this team. There has been for quite some time since Aaron Henry was playing basketball here at Michigan State. And I just don't know how you could just have a lack of dignity to the point where you're here for 4 years and no one has taken the reins of being a leader on this team. So no, it's not just like that the jump shots aren't falling or that the layups are being missed at an unholy clip. It's just like, where's the fire from the team, or just guys that care? It's not just me saying it. Tom Izzo himself is saying it too. That there's no leader on this team. So now where do we go from here, guys? Now what? Are we missing the tournament? Are we going to go to the NIT? Are we going to Dayton? Whatever. I mean, I'm not going to say I don't care. I do care. I do want to see this team in the tournament. I know that a lot of people out there could not care less whether it just ends today, tomorrow. They just want the next chapter to start for Michigan State hoops. Fact of the matter is that, guys, right now, they are in the tournament. And don't just take it from me. I'm not just saying that for no good reason. I reached out to Joe Cook-Sugar. He's one of the best bracketologists in the nation over at 131 Sports. And after this loss, Michigan State still in the 9 or 10 seed range. Now, with that said, maybe you're like me. You have no reason to believe that they could shut the door and end the season comfortably inside of the bubble here. Next game, they're going to lose by 85 points at Purdue. Okay, I might not even turn that game on. That game is going to be a bloodbath. And then it's Boo Booey's senior night at Breslin Center. Excuse me for not thinking that that's just going to be an automatic win. And then you got to go to Assembly Hall. And yes, Indiana has struggled mightily this year, but it's senior day at Assembly. I assume the team will be a little up for that game. And we have learned this week that all you have to have is a half pulse to beat Michigan State basketball. So could I see them going 0-3? Yeah, absolutely. I see 0-3 more likely than 2-1. And 2-1 might just have to be what it is to solidly secure yourself in the tournament before the Big Ten tournament even rolls around. So that's where we're at. I know that we're panicking about the tournament, and for the first time, I think all season, like it's valid. It's incredibly valid. They just had 2 games in a row. They were 9.5-point favorites. and they lost at home. Like, excuse me for being a little reluctant just to buy in that, the Northwestern game is probably going to be a win and that the Indiana road game is going to be a win. And again, don't even get me started on the Purdue game. Oh, my God. I don't even know what to say anymore. I think that pretty much seals the deal. That's sad. This is really sad. Even the top 5 ranking to start the season aside, and I know that we've talked about this a little bit the last week, but like even if this team started the year outside of the top 25, like this is still infuriating. This is still a really, really upsetting stretch for Michigan State basketball because it goes back 4 years. And what really just digs a thorn into the side of myself and probably you is that the whole attitude of the portal was treated with so much defiance in the offseason of, oh, I'm going to rock with my guys. I got my guys. Oh, I'm going to do it my way. I'm going to beat the system. Well, all of us are over here, the idiots on Twitter screaming, no, please get a center, Tom. Please, we beg you. Do something in the portal. Please improve your roster. That's what the portal's for. Turns out we were right. We're not right a lot. For the most part, the Hall of Fame head coach gets the one up on us. That's why he's in the Hall of Fame, but this was not one of those times. This is not one of those times. We thought he finally changed, though, at the start of the game. Xavier Booker starting. Hey, big boy minutes. We're finally seeing that. This is what production looks like in the front court. Guy that can score, guy that can shoot, guy that can post up, guy that can grab an offensive rebound and not have it ripped from his hands immediately. Shout out to the end of the game there. We were duped. We were duped again. Some good news, though. We'll end you on good news here. There were some good recruits in the building today. There was 5-star Jerry Easter, 2025 guard, and then 2025 5-star Darius Adams were in the building today. To see that, hey, if you're a 5-star, if you want to come to Michigan State, don't prepare yourself for playing the last 15 minutes of a game, despite how bad it looks when you're not in the game. That's a really good selling point to those 5-stars and 4-stars that were in attendance today. So glad it was a big recruiting weekend for Michigan State basketball. It's great. It's awesome. Everything's awesome. Everything's great. Anything else you guys want to talk about? I'm reading the comments here on YouTube here. Idiot Air. That's the guy's name. I'm not calling him an idiot. I've already been mean enough earlier. He writes in, my main complaint is still the horrible performance from Tyson and Akins. Neither could buy a bucket. Yeah. Red Wings are buzzing though, says JT Doug 18. Yeah, we just love hockey. Just 4-point lead going into Wisconsin because Michigan State couldn't beat Ohio State on Friday. Imagine that. The Spartans being very underwhelming against a Buckeye team in East Lansing. But no, all jokes aside, we can't rip on the hockey team. They've been incredible this year. 4-point lead going into Wisconsin. Got to get 2 points to secure a tie of the first ever Big Ten regular season championship here in East Lansing. So we're going to talk more about that tomorrow with Jer Bear of Spartans Illustrated. We're going to talk hockey. Got to give love to a program that actually delivers. Also, shout out gymnastics. They won the Big Ten title too. So yeah, it's not all doom and gloom here in East Lansing. Gymnastics is popping. So what's there to frown about? I'm sorry, this is way too much silence for a podcast. This is not professional at all. What is professional though around East Lansing? I mean, oh my God, it was just the quotes that really just broke my back because we've seen losses this year. We've seen losses the last 4 years. You'd think we'd be used to this, but it's just the whole. Oh well, he just couldn't defend the ball screens that well. Okay, cool. Play the center and just have him get another rebound ripped out of his hands for the 80th time this year. Like that's cool. That's great. But hey, at least he didn't get beat on a ball screen. What are we doing? Week off. We got to find our identity here. Thought these guys were supposed to be good. Steve, same here, man. We just need a clean start with these seniors gone. And you know what? I'll end on this because there's one take that I keep seeing out there that I don't wholly agree with, and I don't fault people for saying this, and I could be very wrong. I keep seeing the take that I almost wish they missed the tournament so some big changes happen this offseason, or some iteration of that. Like, oh, you know, if they make the NIT, then Tom will make some big changes. I don't think that has to be mutually exclusive. Like, I think that the writing is already right now on the wall that changes have to be made. And even if they do make the tournament, miss the tournament, I think changes just have to happen on default, just right off the top, guys. I mean, we are looking at maybe like 8 scholarship players in the offseason. Let me walk you through that right now. Fears Holloman. Okay, I'm just going to go position by position. At the 1, Jeremy Fears, Trey Holloman. At the 2, or the wing, let's go with Garrick Norman, Kurt Tang, Jace Richardson, Jaden Akins, and Cohen Carr. All right, I just belched out a few names there, but those are your wing players. And then Xavier Booker, Jesse McCulloch, Carson Cooper, Kohler, and Mady Sissoko can come back, guys. So that is... Let's do the math really quick there. That is 12 players right there. Now, let's say 2 centers leave in the offseason. Let's say that you just have some attrition right there. Okay, let's say that Xavier Booker leaves. I'm not as panicked about it right now after the last quotes from the practice and that he started today. Yes, of course, he didn't play the last 15 minutes, but on the off chance that he bolts, let's just call it 3 players right there. Let's say Jaden Akins has had enough and he's out. That's 8 scholarship players. Like, something has to just happen on baseline right there. So that's why I'm not of the, bad things need to happen to the program. They need to miss the tournament so good things will later happen. I think by now, like, it is very clear that it just has to happen anyway. And if Tom doesn't see that, then that's a completely different conversations. But yeah, again, maybe I'm wrong, but that's just one thing that I keep seeing as the, hey, let's make the NIT so big changes happen. I don't know. I think they just happen regardless if you do make the tournament as an 11 seed or host an NIT game. I don't see it either way. JT Dog 18 writes in, do you think Jaden is coming back next year? If I had to guess, yes. That is on no inside intel. That is just on a vibe right now. That is just a hunch. Yeah, I think he comes back. I don't think he's ready for the NBA clearly after a performance like today, but I think he could use some work on shot creation. Whether he wants to do that in East Lansing next year, by all means, he's more than welcome to as far as I'm concerned, but it's not up to me whatsoever. But yeah, I do think Jaden comes back next year. That's just a hunch. So no, thanks for writing that in. Someone writes in, Michigan made the NIT, some big changes happened there. Yeah, you got that right. Yeah, just because you make the NIT, guys, doesn't mean that great things happen. Just like that. So thanks a lot for watching, guys. Really, really impressive turnout from you guys tonight. Misery loves company. There's no way to put it. Yeah, I'm sorry if I just came off as just mean or rash, but yeah, emotions are high right now. I don't have any patience for looking at the past and remembering the Final Fours from 2009 to 2010 and saying, hey, remember the good times with Izzo, because we're living in some miserable times right now. So sorry, I don't have much patience to do any of that. So yeah. And yeah, as far as that goes, guys, Locked On Spartans, your team every single day. Woo! Go green. It's just miserable.